Have you ever realized that a single sentence has the potential to shape your reality or silence your aspirations? This isn't a vague or mystical idea, it happens in the present moment, where your words interact with reality as tangibly as hands pressing into clay. Every statement you make impresses upon the world, initiating subtle shifts in your circumstances and perception. You speak, and something within and beyond you responds. You affirm, and the structure of your life begins to adjust accordingly. Yet, most people do not speak with intention. They go old programming. They repeat inherited fears, unresolved doubts, and memories of limitation. Instead of consciously using language to construct the future, they unknowingly reinforce the past. And so, life appears stagnant not due to fate or external resistance, but because the inner voice, the true authority of your experience, has forgotten its own creative force. Deep within every human being lies a space where sound transcends expression and becomes creation itself. This is not metaphor, it is an inner truth known to sages, prophets, and mystics throughout history. In this sacred interior, language is not used to describe reality, it is used to shape it. This is the realm from which inspired utterances emerge, where words are not formed to plead or wish, but to bring forth. Here, to speak rightly is not to ask for change, but to become one with it. It is not about begging life to respond. It is about aligning with the force that already knows how to command it. When the voice arises from this centered awareness, the spoken word carries authority. The tongue becomes an instrument of intention. Even silence, in this space, is not empty, it listens attentively, waiting for precision. And that precision can only arise when the speaker understands true speech is not an act of hope, but an act of delivery. So the real question isn't whether words hold power, we know they do. The question is, are you speaking from knowing or from wishing? Because that difference defines your reality. It marks the boundary between a life that bends to your alignment and one that pushes back. When you speak with full alignment, rooted, embodied, and certain, the delays disappear, resistance softens, and what once felt distant begins to move toward you. Creation does not begin in some far-off heaven. It begins within the internal structure of your own being. Specifically, it begins with repetition. What you say consistently, especially with conviction, begins to shape who you are. The more frequently you speak from a place of certainty rather than doubt, the more quickly your entire system adapts. Your biology is always listening. It doesn't analyze whether your words match the current external reality. It only registers whether they resonate as truth within you. When you speak with unwavering assurance again and again, the body responds. The nervous system starts to reorganize itself around the energetic pattern of that internal truth. With enough repetition, the subconscious mind, which governs behavior, emotion, and even posture, begins to rewire itself in accordance with your language. You're not just trying to convince yourself anymore. You are recalibrating yourself on a cellular, emotional, and neurological level. Your body begins to walk in sync with your voice, and your outer reality slowly aligns with your inner declaration. Just as water shapes stone not by force, but through steady persistence, your voice shapes your reality through repeated intention. It is not the volume of what you say that holds power, but the consistency and emotional clarity behind it. When you speak with conviction, rooted in clarity and the energy of finality, something subtle but profound begins to occur. The distance between words and reality starts to dissolve. Although the mind often claims authority, it is the body that makes belief tangible. True transformation happens when the body feels the belief, not just thinks it, but the body only trusts what it hears consistently enough to encode it into memory. That means your language must remain stable, not just during outward affirmations or spoken declarations, but especially in your inner dialogue and private thoughts. When your speech becomes unified internally and externally, the body starts to respond as if what you are saying is already true. This is the moment when words move beyond intention. This is when speech becomes embodiment. Consider how a child learns to walk or ride a bicycle. In the beginning, there's hesitation, imbalance, even failure. But through repetition, the awkward becomes graceful. Eventually, the act becomes second nature and conscious, automatic. The same principle applies to intentional speech. At first, speaking with authority and clarity may feel unfamiliar or forced. like wearing clothes that don't quite fit, but the discomfort is temporary. If you remain consistent speaking deliberately, speaking frequently, and speaking with the emotional tone of completion, the body will begin to adapt. The nervous system learns. The biology starts to cooperate. And once the body joins the mind in certainty, manifestation no longer feels like labor, it becomes a natural extension of your state of being. This is where many people get stuck. They speak powerful words once or twice and, not seeing instant results, fall back into familiar language patterns rooted in fear, hesitation, or passive waiting. But lasting transformation doesn't come to the one who tests the waters of creation with momentary effort. It comes to the one who immerses, who commits, who continues until the new language becomes the new life. Transformation belongs to the one who fully commits, who immerses themselves in truth until it is no longer an idea but a cellular reality. It comes to the one who repeats the language of alignment until the body no longer doubts, but acts on it as instinct. This is the formula: repetition, emotion, and belief. Not a one-time affirmation, but a sustained declaration spoken until no alternative feels more natural or believable. When your speech becomes second nature, so does creation. You no longer merely hope for success, you embody it. Your voice carries the tone of certainty. You don't simply say, "I am healed," you move through life as someone who already is. And when your words and actions align in this way, the perceived gap between desire and reality begins to collapse. This isn't about the future, it's about the frequency you live in right now. Once your speech is charged with clarity and repeated consistently enough for the body to register it as truth, the shift occurs. Creation is no longer something you're waiting for. It becomes the natural consequence of your state of being. Once the body begins to echo your words, a deeper truth begins to emerge. Every sentence you speak is a reflection of what you unconsciously assume to be real. This truth often hides in plain sight. If you listen carefully, not to people's rehearsed or public statements, but to their casual and guarded speech, you will hear the story they truly believe about themselves and their world. Phrases like, "I'm not lucky," or "nothing ever works out for me," or "people like me don't win," aren't just harmless expressions. They are verbalized identities. Each sentence carries with it an embedded assumption, one that, when repeated, solidifies into a lived reality. This is where the law of assumption truly operates. Not in mystical affirmations or forced positivity, but in the tone and texture of your everyday language. What you say most often reveals your default expectation of life. Your voice, more than your intention, tells the universe whether you're living from fullness or from lack. If you say, "I always bounce back," that's not just motivational, it's a declaration rooted in an assumption that life is on your side. But if you say, "I can't catch a break," you're operating under the belief that life works against you. Your language is the map of your mindset. You don't need to dig endlessly through your subconscious to uncover your beliefs. Simply listen to the words you speak. They reveal everything. So, when you begin to speak as if it is already done, you're not just using language to influence your external world. You're rewriting the inner script. You are reshaping the assumptions that your subconscious mind treats as law. And because the subconscious does not evaluate, it only accepts and executes those assumptions, once repeated with emotional conviction, begin to manifest as tangible conditions. The universe isn't waiting for you to beg or wish. It is responding, always, to the frequency of what you continually declare. Speak defeat, and life responds in kind. Speak from fulfillment, and life reshapes itself to reflect it. This is why so-called casual speech is never truly casual. The universe doesn't interpret tone, sarcasm, or disclaimers. It doesn't differentiate between a joke and a decree. It listens to energy, frequency, intention, and assumption. When you speak, the underlying vibration of your words is what matters. Those who learn to assume with precision and speak without contradiction unlock a powerful momentum. Outcomes that once felt distant begin to arrive sooner. Life, no longer confused by conflicting signals, begins to respond clearly and consistently to the voice that knows what it's summoning. But once you begin to shift your assumptions and speak with real conviction, another subtle challenge emerges: the habit of complaint, often disguised as honesty, venting, or just keeping it real. Complaint is rarely questioned, but make no mistake, complaints are not neutral. Just like affirmations, they are creative commands. They reflect and reinforce your deepest assumptions about how life works. When you say, "Nothing ever works out for me," you're not merely expressing frustration. You're programming your subconscious to repeat that pattern, even when your conscious mind desires change. If your language continues to affirm limitation, your inner system stays loyal to the past. Why? Because your words instruct the nervous system. The body believes what it hears the most. And over time, complaint becomes a ritual, one that energetically tethers you to the very reality you want to escape. It keeps your physiology rehearsing defeat, and your emotions stuck in a loop of lack. Speaking as if it is done requires courage. The courage to let go of familiar but unhelpful habits. Consider how much energy is spent retelling the problems of yesterday. Entire conversations revolve around what's wrong, what's missing, or what's broken. But here's the truth: what you repeat, you reinforce, and what you reinforce, you relive. This is not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing where to place your creative power. You can either describe your life or design it, but not both at once. Complaining may offer a momentary emotional release, but it robs you of clarity. And clarity is the fertile ground where all genuine creation takes root. Once you commit to speaking from completion, from fulfillment, and from wholeness, you stop wasting words on realities you no longer wish to inhabit. You begin to speak as a creator, not a commentator. And in doing so, you reclaim your power. Speaking with authority goes beyond simply affirming what you desire. It also means consciously refusing to breathe life into what you no longer accept. Every complaint is like a seed unwittingly planted, one that will grow unless you pull it out and replace it with truth. Speak not the frustrations that bind you, but the realities that liberate you. When your language ceases to dance with despair, and instead declares with focused direction, life begins to respond accordingly. Speak as if it is done, and the echoes of complaint will no longer hold you captive. Once you stop fueling your future with the residue of complaint, a deeper truth comes into view. Sound is not merely communication, it is creation. Ancient civilizations recognized this long before modern science confirmed it. Words were revered not for their poetic beauty alone, but for their inherent frequency. Sound is vibration, and vibration is energy in motion. Every time you speak, you release a frequency into the field around you. That frequency does not dissipate. It organizes, informs, and attracts. To speak like it is done means to consciously engage with sound as a deliberate tool of manifestation, not as random noise-filling silence. Imagine each word as a tuning fork. When struck with clarity and intention, it reshapes the atmosphere around you. Saying, "I am loved," with shallow doubt causes the vibration to scatter. But saying it with the rooted resonance of one who truly knows it, that bends reality to your will. This is not mystical speculation. It is energetic law. Just as music can soothe the body or stir the soul, your words carry a signature that either aligns you with your desired state or fractures your energy through contradiction. Your voice is not a mere symbol of your power, it is your power in action. To use sound as sacred technology, you must slow down and cultivate intention. There is no room for rushed affirmations or hollow declarations. Feel the full weight of your words. Let their vibration resonate deeply through your chest, not merely pass through your lips. Speak not to fill empty space, but to give form to what already exists within you. When you speak like it is done, sound transforms into structure. Frequency becomes architecture. The universe, always listening, begins to build what you have already completed in your inner world. When sound becomes intentional, when your words vibrate with alignment, the final shift unfolds. Your life starts to echo your voice. You no longer speak in order to become. You speak because you already are. Your words are not casting out hope. They are grounding what is already true inside you. This is the essence of speaking like it is done. You no longer wait for external proof before claiming your identity. Instead, you claim your identity first, and the evidence naturally follows. Your voice leads. Life responds. At this level, your speech is no longer an act of convincing yourself. It is an overflow of your being. The mind no longer needs persuasion. The body no longer needs reminders. You have rehearsed, refined, and repeated this truth until your entire system carries it without resistance. Now, speaking is no longer a practice. It is a reflection. This reflection permeates every moment of your day, how you walk, work, respond, and receive. Your spoken word becomes a vibration that perfectly matches your presence. When word and being become one, creation unfolds effortlessly. This is where many fall short. They speak abundance but shrink away from opportunity. They affirm love while harboring doubts about their worthiness. Yet, speech without embodiment is mere noise, empty ritual without power. True manifestation is never founded on words alone. It requires coherence. Coherence means your voice, actions, energy, assumptions, and emotions all align and point in the same direction. Speaking powerfully is not enough. You must live as though what you have spoken is your baseline reality. To speak like it is done is not a performance. It is a permission slip, a permission to become what you were always meant to remember. You don't chase outcomes, plead with the universe, or narrate what's missing. You walk as one who carries completion. From that place, your speech no longer reaches for change, it anchors, seals, and declares what already exists in the unseen, calling it fully into manifestation. Speak it, then be it. And once you are fully being it, there is nothing left to wait for. You were not born to speak as a stranger in your own life. You were born to speak as its architect. Every word you release is heard by a universe that mirrors your level of certainty. When your voice stops wavering and begins declaring, reality stops hesitating and starts shifting. You are not waiting for the world to change. You are waiting to speak with the clarity that changes it. Each sentence you speak sets a frequency in motion. Speak with doubt, and life reflects confusion. Speak with completion, and life organizes itself around fulfillment. The moment you stop describing what is and start declaring what is done, everything responds, not because the words are magic, but because they are evidence of who you have become. And when who you have become matches what you speak, it is done, not later, now.